Welcome to the Simpler Business Podcast, where we talk about ways to do what you love and serve your people in a way that brings you income and freedom. I'm your host, Marissa Roberts. Join me as I chat with my favourite entrepreneurs about how they simplify their biz so that you can simplify yours.
Traditional jobs are looking less and less appealing every year. So many people are working longer hours for less pay and non-existent job security. Companies are reducing their workforce by using artificial intelligence or AI to automate processes and improve productivity. And if you've been finding yourself feeling less and less secure at your 9-to-5, your retail, or your hospitality job, you are not alone. It's time to look at some new options and take control back over your career. The good news is there are so many options out there in terms of entrepreneurship. But the bad news is that with so many options out there, it can be hard to figure out which one is right for you. Should you try a product-based business, a service business, passive income and digital products, a brick and mortar place that you build yourself from scratch, or a franchise? How do you know which one is going to be the best fit without running the risk of wasting years of your time and your effort and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars? I think that the easiest way to cope with a change like this or a shift in your lifestyle is to let go of the pressure to figure it out all on your own. You don't have to do it all by yourself. There are people out there who understand the uncertainty of what you're going through, and they can help you navigate the pathway that best suits you based on your skills, your interests, your experience, and your goals. And my guest today is one of them. Anna Schulman Brambilla has more than 20 years of experience in the field of career transition. She has been a career coach, a recruiter, outplacement consultant, and relocation expert. Anna works hard to provide a safe, pressure-free environment for her clients to explore their income and lifestyle intentions, to determine if something like franchising or entrepreneurship is a fit, and to identify the best path to achieve their goals. She's a skilled listener, coach, and facilitator who is passionate about helping people recognize the strengths they might not see in themselves and explore alternatives that they might never have considered. Anna, welcome. I am so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here myself. And I appreciate the introduction. I almost didn't recognize myself. So thank you for those kind words.
I think what you do is so important because there's really no security anymore in traditional work. And work is becoming, it's so much different now to what it was even 20 years ago when I was working retail, hospitality, corporate. The environment is very different now. There's a lot more pressure on people, longer hours, less pay, more stress. That's not even considering the last couple of years where everyone was kind of working from home and then asked to go back to the office, and then hybrid versus no hybrid. And there's a lot of stress out there that I didn't see happening when I first entered the workforce back in my early 20s. Do you find the same when you're talking about people about their experiences?
Very much so. And I think COVID really crystallized for so many people how little, I hate to say it this way, but how little companies care for their employees.
Yeah.
And how dispensable companies think their employees are, which of course is a stupid short-sighted way of thinking about things. But that's what's happening. And, companies will pre-COVID and after COVID, we'll talk about companies are our biggest asset and we take care of our family here. And frankly, I'm sure there's good companies out there. I haven't met a whole lot of them, but I'm sure there are good companies out there. Yeah, exactly. But the companies employees realize that they're not taken care of and won't be taken care of. But gone are the days, at least for my parents, my grandparents, where you pledged your allegiance to the company and they would take care of you as long as you did what they said. And 50 years later, you get the golden watch. Yes. Those days are long gone. Even pensions gone the way of the dinosaur. Just to give you an idea, I just had a call earlier today with a client who was talking about he had been with a major company for 17 years. Big company, well-known. I'm sure if I said it, you'd have heard of it. Literally, he got laid off in February. in January, 1 month earlier, he just got rave reviews on his performance evaluation, got a major raise, and was being told he was going to get a promotion.
Wow.
A month later, after 17 years, the guy got laid off.
No warning,
I'm hearing
nothing.
no warning, nothing. And I'm hearing story after story after story of this. It breaks my heart because these clients of mine have put so much time and effort into their job search and into being a great employee and working their way up, only to have it taken away at an instant. It's sad. It's sad. So, which is why I love what I do so much, because I get to help those people. I give them hope. I give them options. I help them say, okay, I don't want to work for the man anymore. I don't want to be beholden to somebody else. I want to see what else is out there. And that's what I love what I do.
Yeah, I think hope is such a good keyword there that you use, because when you've been let go from corporate or from a traditional job, I think hope is, it's just gone. You're crushed, really. If you're somebody who's been loyal and excited to work for a company and you've put in the hours and you've put in the commitment, or you've just enjoyed the workplace and made friends there, and work becomes our life because we spend so much time doing it. And I think to be let go and treated like a number instead of a person, that's the pattern I see over and over again. And that's why I left corporate. I had a great corporate job that I loved at the very start, took a break to have my kids, went back to a completely different environment. It just management had changed, a little bit had changed in terms of processes and work style, but the big thing I felt was I was treated like a number, not a person, and that was really the ending of my corporate career. I was really like, you know what, I could go home and I could have more freedom with my own business, but also enjoy what I do again and be Marissa the person, not Marissa number 209, whatever it was.
Exactly. Yeah. And what I find a lot of my clients like too is the idea that they're taking control of their destiny. And I think, frankly, that's cliche, but there is truth to that. I mean, I know stories. I know someone quite well, for example, who worked for a company and literally went from, I think it was like mid-October to mid-June, worked every single day of the week, took Christmas Day off and took New Year's Day off, every single day of the week, nights, weekends, everything, pulling all-nighters, and in the end had to practically threaten to sue to get a $5,000 bonus. That was the only thing. I mean, it was just mind-boggling. And yet we do that to ourselves. And I get it. That's the way we've always done things. And that's what we've always thought about. But it's time to shift and think about owning your own destiny and taking control and seeing that direct correlation between the efforts that you put in and how much money you can make.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people think that they're alone in their experience when they're working for a company, and it's not a great experience. But this is something you see time and time again, right? Is the reason why people do want to jump in and do something different and do something that they have more control of. And I know you talk about battered career syndrome a lot. For our listeners who are new to that phrase, can you give us a little bit more background on what that is? Because I have a feeling they're going to find it very relatable.
Yeah, isn't that such an evocative phrase? I love it. Just a little bit of background. The Entrepreneur Source is a franchise. And so about 6 years ago this month, started to look around because I was a corporate employee, miserable and hated it, hated the bosses, hated the politics, hated the being passed over for promotions because I wasn't the flavor of the month, whatever it was. And started looking around and found franchising as an option, looked at a bunch of different franchises and chose the Entrepreneur Source. So I am a franchisee of a franchise that helps people explore franchising as an option. It's very meta. It's
very meta. I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. And one of the many benefits of a franchise is that they give you all kinds of marketing materials. And they came up with battered career syndrome. And so it's not something I can take credit for, but I can use. And it's just that feeling that so many of us have, that we're sick and tired of all of the stuff that corporate America has become. And we were talking before about giving our all, working insane hours, working 70, 80 hours a week, only to have us have it all go to waste, and I'll have it not be valued, and have all of one day we wake up and we walk into the office and we have a job, and then, an hour or two later, all of a sudden we don't have a job. And so that idea, that battered career syndrome idea, is just that feeling of, I'm sick of this. I can't do this anymore for anybody else. I want to do it for myself. And I think that's so evocative. I love that. Love that concept.
Yeah, it's like you've hit your limit. That's enough. I don't care what else is out there. I'm going to find it because I just can't do this any longer. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people relate to that. And that feeling of, even just, I remember countless stories of people who put in their notice in the office, right? For example, they'd put in 2 weeks notice and then get walked out of the building on that very same day. All of their access to computers. They'd done nothing wrong. There was no issue with their performance. There was no issue with their ethics. It was just, well, you've made the decision to leave, so we're not going to trust you with access to our systems for the next 2 weeks, even though you've given us no reason to not trust you. A very demeaning way to treat people who have been loyal. So yeah, there's so many examples out there. I mean, we could do a whole episode just on bad examples in the world.
Yes, indeed.
Terrible. So if people want to change their direction, though, I think a lot of people freeze at the idea that there are lots of different options for them, because they're a little bit worried that what if I pick something and I go down a different pathway and it turns out that it wasn't the right one? Or what if I don't have the money to try 2 or 3 different options, and I've got, say, a little nest egg of savings, but I'm worried I'm going to blow it by choosing something that doesn't suit me? Or even people who are just, I think I know what I want to do, but I don't have a lot of cash up front to rent a building or start my own business or take that risk. Do you work with people who have those sorts of fears? And if so, how do you manage that sort of risk factor?
Absolutely. I work best with the people that come to me and say, I don't know what I want. I know what I don't want. That's my ideal client, because I can really help them focus and explain and get clear on what's important to them. Franchising is a risk, but so is waking up in the morning. So is getting out of bed in the morning. The way I've always been told, and this is by no means any kind of guarantee, but the way I look at it, most people have 3 paths that they can go down. They can go back to corporate and do everything in the traditional corporate world. They could start their own business, or they can invest in a franchise. And to me, of those, in many ways, the most risky is going back and getting a corporate job, because any job can go away at any time. When you own your own business, when you own your own franchise, you have so much direct control over the future success of that particular enterprise. So in general, I think franchising reduces risk considerably, not only because you have control over it, but there's a concept in franchising that I love. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And I love that idea. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So I own my own company. I run it how I want to, but I don't have to do everything like that, like the battered career syndrome. My incredible marketing team came up with that. They do all my marketing, my strategic planning, my legal, the accounting. They go out and find the franchises for me that I can present. They are constantly thinking about what's coming down the pike, what's next, what's the best way. They have a vested interest in me being successful. And so I had a client who's investing in a franchise, and he said something beautiful about franchising that I love. He says, every person that he met on the team of the franchise is either invested in, their job is to make and support the franchisees, or to support the people who are supporting the franchisees. And that concept is so powerful. So they wake up every day thinking, how can they make me personally and my colleagues more successful? It's a brilliant concept about franchising that I really like. The other thing is that a franchise is a proven business model. So to become a franchise costs tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in years of proven profitability.
Oh, wow.
So people don't know that about franchising.
I didn't know that either. That makes you feel a lot more confident. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like you're like, oh, I have this great idea. I think I'm going to become a franchise. Great. Have that great idea. Prove that it can be profitable. Prove that it can be a replicable recipe, if you will, for success. And then we'll talk. And then we'll become a franchise. And so it's fascinating how that works.
Yeah, I really like how you said you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself, because that's the thing. And that's where, when I have clients who are doing the solopreneur thing, that's their biggest struggle is I'm doing it alone. I don't have anyone to guide me. If I want a team of people to support me, I have to find them, hire them, train them, manage them just to get that support. And they always have that feeling then of, it's just quicker and easier to do it myself. But you're right. When you said as a franchisee, I have a legal team at my disposal. I have a marketing team sorting everything out. We already have a pathway and a process that's proven and has worked for other people. It's not, and I know there's no guarantees in any business, but if you're investing in a business where you can see the success this business has had in other locations or with other people running it, that's a pretty safe bet when it comes to jumping in and giving something a try. You feel like you don't have to come up with everything from scratch at the beginning.
Exactly. And so then going back to your question about people who are scared or nervous or worried, absolutely. I'd be worried if they weren't worried. I'd be worried if they weren't scared about it, because of course it's a big investment. And we can talk about the investment ranges too, by the way, but of course people are going to be scared about that. But a lot of the risk is taken away. Now, nothing is risk-free. I don't want anybody to indicate, to say, oh, well, Anna said that I'm going to guarantee to be a millionaire. Not saying that at all. Not making any kind of guarantees whatsoever. But I am saying that the risk is greatly reduced by going the route of a franchise, which is one of the reasons why I like it so much. Yeah. The other thing is a couple of important pieces. So the investment range, most people think McDonald's here in the States, they think McDonald's, they think Subway, they think millions of dollars, which is true. That's what those cost, $2-3 million. In our portfolio of franchises, the vast majority are under $150,000. Most of them start around $75,000. All the way up to, and we have some that are, way more than 200 or 300,000, but the vast majority are under 150, and funding is very readily available. So it's not like you have to have that cash on hand, which is one of the reasons why I like what I do, because I'm giving people education. I was doing the math recently, and I'm 5th generation educator. Wow. So it goes way, way, way back. My mother, my grandfather, so on and so forth. And for me, that means that I love educating people. At the end of the day, whether they end up in a franchise or not, completely irrelevant. For me, it's all about, did they learn about options, and do they have hope that they didn't have before we started talking?
Oh, that's a lovely way to look at it. And it's interesting because when we first digitally met, I was really surprised because when I typically think franchise, I think fast food. And then when I realized Entrepreneur Source is a franchise, and that, very meta, I was like, oh, okay. So there's a whole nother world of franchising options besides fast food or besides hospitality. Is there a big range, or is it mostly places like eateries and things like that and just a couple of extras on the side? Or is there quite a broad range of options?
Huge range. So in general, the plurality of franchises, of all the thousands of franchises out there, the plurality of them are in food. However, we have a portfolio of more than 200 franchises, of which only 4% have anything to do with food.
Wow,
4% have anything to do with foods. The rest are in things like kids and seniors and pets and travel and fitness and home improvement, home restoration. I'm sure I'm missing some, business services. And so that's one of the things that I love telling people about. It's like, let's tailor it to your ideas. Let's tailor it to what you're trying to achieve. Let's tailor it to your interests, to a limit, though, within a limit. So in franchising, we really want to focus on what you're trying to achieve. We really want to focus on what your goals are, and can we find a path to getting you there? And oftentimes, it's something that they never even thought of. We use the porta potty example. Not a lot of people wake up saying, I want to own a porta potty. I want to deal in poop all day long. But let me tell you, I mean, if they're out there, good for them. I've never met them myself, but good for them. But in reality, those franchises and those businesses can be tremendously profitable and can help those owners get to what they're trying to achieve. And it's so important and so credible.
I think there's a freedom too in not having, not necessarily, it's good to do what you love, but it's also nice to be able to make money doing something that you're not necessarily emotionally attached to. And you can take that step back and make business decisions without the extra stress that comes from, when you start your own business and it's based around something you love to do anyway, there's a lot more pressure there. There's every decision you make is a very emotional one because you don't want to lose this thing that you love so much. So just to have that distinction, I think for a lot of people, that would be very appealing. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And what I encourage people to do is think about what are they trying to achieve, what are their goals, but imagine what the owning that business will allow you to achieve, but allow you to do. Right? I had a client once who said, I have a group of friends every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. to go playing golf. And I desperately want to do that with them, but I've always been in an office environment where I had to be at the office at 9 a.m. So imagine owning your own business where you can have that flexibility and say, you know what, I'm going to go play golf on Wednesday mornings. Or in my case, when my son, my kid was 9 years old at the time that I started, I wanted to go on field trips with him. I wanted to pick him up from school. I wanted to take vacations off, and I could do that with him. And you can do that when you own your own business. And it's such a powerful feeling.
Yeah, lovely. All right. So there's so much to think about. For anybody listening today then who thinks, okay, this is something I could dip my toe into, I should find out more about this. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you if they'd like to know more?
Great question. Check out my LinkedIn profile, and I think we can we put that into the show notes?
Yeah, definitely. Yep, for sure.
So check out my LinkedIn profile. I'll also give you my personal website for my company. And we can also put my calendar on there. I don't know if that's something you can put into the show notes as well. And just great, schedule a 15-minute call and just get a sense of me. A couple of things that are really important to know for all my clients. First of all, there's no cost to working with me. So if you happen to end up in something, it's like a real estate agent. That's how I get paid. The other thing that's also vitally important to know is that all times I'm on the same side of the table as my client. So the only thing I care about is that my client learns, going back to the fact that I'm an educator at heart. That's the important thing for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, because it really means that it's not that you need to sell a certain amount of franchises in this company, so you're only going to offer that. It really is about what the person is looking for, what their goals are, what's going to work for them and their specific circumstance. That's really nice.
And most of my clients don't end up in a franchise. And that's totally wonderful, because again, it's all about them. And if clients come to me and say, oh, I'm sorry, I found my dream job, or I've discovered that this isn't right for me, or I'm going to start my own business, I'm thrilled for them, and I celebrate with them till the cows come home. And one of the things that I'm most proud of on my LinkedIn profiles, I have a number of recommendations, and I'm grateful to those people. And at least half of those people who wrote recommendations will never end up in a franchise, and they still said some nice things about me. So I'm really grateful for that. And I love the tire kickers. If you just want to learn more, get on my calendar. I'd love to tell you more.
Yeah, and that's the first step to anything, really. That's how you find your pathways, taking the step, not watching other people go along their own pathways. It's taking a step to yours, because you can always make a decision and then change the decision, or take a step down one pathway and then pivot if you need to. But to have somebody to guide you and help you, someone who's worked with other people that might have been feeling how you're feeling right now, or worked with other people who have experienced a similar upheaval in their life or an uncertainty. I think all that knowledge and experience you have from working with other people so far all kind of adds up and gives you plenty of knowledge and options to share with the next person. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Very true. Yeah. And I love that too, because so many people feel alone. Those clients that got rave reviews 2 months before they got laid off, or who worked for companies for 15, 20 years and then they got laid off, they feel like they're alone. And they feel like they've done something wrong. And in reality, I can validate for them, you're still wonderful. You still bring lots of great stuff to the table. It's not your fault. And that's helpful too.
Yeah, exactly. All right, then we will definitely do that. I'll pop your LinkedIn link, your calendar link, and your website into the show notes. And that way it's nice and easy for people to find you. Do you have social media besides LinkedIn, or is that the best one to contact you on? Like that's the one you're on the most?
That's the best one I'm on. Yeah, my company is doing some work for me on Facebook because they are much better at it. They're much more aware of what needs to be posted and when and how that works. And so I'm hands off with that one. But yes, LinkedIn is probably the best.
Lovely. All right, we'll include that. Well, thank you so much, Anna, for being here today, because you've opened my eyes to a whole new world that I didn't know much about myself. And I know with our listeners, a lot of them are trying to decide exactly what they want to do, and to have all of those options in front of them and to know that there are different ideas that they can look at. I think that takes a lot of pressure off, especially when you're going through something big like a career transition. If you don't have the direction yet, you can feel like, oh, I'm not, I'm losing at this, I'm not good at this. And that's not the case. It's just that you might not have come across an option that suits you yet. And the more you discover, the more control you have over your circumstance and your future. So thank you for being here. It's been very helpful.
Thank you, Marissa. So enjoyed it.
Me too. And I hope everybody listening has enjoyed it just as much as we have. Please let us know. Come on over to Anna's LinkedIn or my Instagram at Marissa Roberts Official and let us know what you found helpful, what else you would like to know about careers and transitions and choosing something that's right for you. We always love to hear your input, and I will see you all in the next episode.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Simpler Business Podcast. If you did, please subscribe, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to make it nice and easy for you, just the way we like it. If you're ready to simplify and scale your business, you can get started with my free audio class at marissaroberts.com. See you next time.